how to improve your speaking skills as a former shy guy. And I feel as though I'm qualified to make this sort of video, considering I used to have a severe stutter. I couldn't even pronounce my name. I couldn't introduce myself to people. I was absolutely petrified and terrified to even leave my comfort zone, which was my room. My room was my everything. Even though from the outside it looked like I was in solitary confinement, to me it was like heaven, not interacting with people. But that's very dangerous, because the longer you're in that rut, the harder it is to get out of that hole. But I used to be very shy, very self-conscious, and I get a lot of comments, and I'm very appreciative and grateful of that, of people saying, you're very articulate and eloquent, you're a very good speaker, how did you learn to be a good speaker? And it does make me smile, and I'm quite chuffed when I read comments like that, because considering and casting my mind back to how I used to be, I have come a long way. And in this video, I'm going to share with you guys how I did come a long way through that journey, and how you guys can actually replicate and do the same, especially if you're a shy guy. So, if I can do it, you guys certainly can. And the first one, it's going to be a bit self-explanatory, but I feel like you guys can resonate with this massively. And it's, first of all, raising your voice. I used to have this issue, and it wasn't up until, I'd say, quite recently, like a couple of years ago, where if I spoke to a stranger, if I spoke to someone, or even just close family members, a lot of the time they would say, can you repeat that again? I spoke so softly. A lot of the time they could barely hear what I was saying. It was almost as if I was mumbling. I was speaking too quick. I was mumbling, speaking at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And it felt like it was so soft, and it was quite mumbly. And they always used to say, sorry, could you repeat that again? Could you say that again? Or you're in a super loud environment and you feel like you're at the top of your lungs, but they simply ask you to repeat it again. And it's such an irritating and frustrating feeling, because you feel like you're insulted, but they genuinely can't hear you. And the first step is, as simple and basic as it sounds, consciously, because in the beginning it's going to be difficult if you've built this into a habit. But in the beginning, focus on speaking louder. So if you speak at a certain volume, try and increase it by 20%. You don't need to scream, obviously, but try to increase that by 20 to 30%, and you'll see a major difference. Just in the beginning, it's going to be hard because you're forming a new pattern, a new identity. So in the beginning, it's going to have to be a conscious effort, but 20 to 30% increase in your volume, massive difference, because you'll stop getting people saying, could you say that again, please? So frustrating, so irritating. So that's going to immediately improve your speaking skills. The second one, I know it's not for everyone, but as I said, I used to have a stutter and I was quite shy. Get into sales. If you don't know, especially as a young man, and people that have worked in the sales industry before, you guys can vouch for this, I'm sure. You may have gone to uni, or you may have not gone to uni. If you don't know what your career path is, if you're still in that process of, I'm discovering my purpose, I don't know what my calling is, jump into sales. Because the worst case is it doesn't work out. Maybe sales isn't for you, because sales isn't for everyone. That's the reality. I was in the industry for over 2 years. At the old company that I used to work for. Jump into sales, because then you can figure out if it's for you, but also it gets you out of your comfort zone. Cold calling prospects, even warm leads, sitting demonstrations, booking demonstrations, selling products online. It is a very brave thing to do. You're throwing yourself out there, especially if you're a shy guy, or you've got issues where, you always have to repeat yourself, or you're very soft-spoken, you don't like speaking too much. Throwing yourself out there like exposure therapy, you cannot be that at all, because you're either going to sink or swim. And even if you sink, at least you gave it a go. For me, it's one of the game changers for me. The reason why I speak so well, and the reason why, I'm at a stage where my speaking skills are 100 times better than it was, part of the reason, the big reason of that, was because of sales. Because you're thrown into the deep end. You haven't got an alternative. That will accelerate, and you're taking action. It's your daily job to speak to random strangers every single day. The rejections that you get on a consistent basis. You're not going to improve your speaking skills by sitting there and reading books on sales or reading books on public speaking. I tried that method. I've always tried to go around the issue. I've tried to go under it, over it. You have to go through it. The only way you can improve your speaking skills is by taking action. So reading books can be a supplement. It can be a supplement. It can aid your development, but it cannot be the bread and butter, because it just simply can't. Here's the thing. Imagine you're training to be a doctor. You want to be a brain surgeon, right? Imagine I don't do any sort of operations. I don't shadow any sort of operations. I don't see how it's done and I don't take any action. But instead what I do is I sit there and for 60 odd years, I just watch lectures on how to operate on the brain. I just watch videos and I know all the technical terms and I've seen videos of it, but I've never taken action. And then 60 years later, absorbing all of that information, I get thrown into the deep end to now operate on an individual. You're going to be horrendous. It's analysis by paralysis. It's the same thing. It's the same principle. So sales is phenomenal because it throws you in the deep ends and you either sink or swim, but regardless, you improve your communication skills. So increasing your volume and throwing yourself into sales, doing those two things alone, your speaking skills are going to skyrocket by at least 100%. Now, another thing that I used to do was join networking events solo. So again, and solo is a key word here. So if you go with friends, you're not really boosting confidence. You're not really throwing yourself out of the comfort zone because the whole point is you're networking with different individuals or like-minded individuals that you've never met before. That's the whole purpose of a networking event. But the concept is daunting because you arrive at this massive venue in perhaps a city that you've never been in. You don't know a single soul there. You enter into the place and you're introducing yourself to new groups. I mean, what a fantastic way to improve your speaking skills. Because you have no other choice, you have to. And imagine doing this on a repetitive basis. In the beginning, it's going to be difficult, but once you do it once or twice, you're going to quickly realize, actually, that wasn't that bad. And your speaking skills, they improve as well. Again, for me personally, joining networking events, again, was a game changer for me. It boosted my speaking skills massively. I used to be a guy that was so introverted, really shy, had a terrible stutter that I could never overcome, to now making videos online, working in sales. I've joined networking events. I constantly interact with strangers. I've done a complete 180, but it's these things that I've listed. I promise you, you do these things on a consistent basis, you won't be recognizable in a good way. And the next one is date more. Date more. If you're, let's say, socially inept or incompetent with the opposite sex especially, date more. Again, you can read books on pickup and you can read books on women, and I've read books on women. There are some fantastic suggestions that I'll give you. I'll give you guys a couple now. Models by Mark Manson and The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida. Two phenomenal books, and that will teach you a lot about women. But that's all theory. You have to apply that, and the only way you can apply that is by dating more. And again, that indirectly improves your speaking skills, your communication skills. These are all soft skills that are translatable into the corporate world, or if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to be able to have the ability to socialize and adapt. You have to. If you don't, you're screwed. You know, humans are social creatures. So dating more is going to indirectly improve your communication skills and your speaking skills. So you can read books on it. You can have all the theories, do everything that you want. But the ultimate way, the only way you can ever actually improve, the tangible way, is by taking straight action. And finally, I've already briefly alluded to it, it's interacting with different people. So you walk into the gym, instead of saying, you know, nodding at the receptionist, say, oh, hi, how are you? How's your day been? Been working hard? You know, just little small talk. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of small talk. I'm sure some guys aren't the biggest fans of small talk, but sometimes it's necessary. It's sort of the marathon mindset. It's getting your foot in the door, because when you do it on a repetitive basis, it might lead to another conversation, and you never know, you might have a friendship or a relationship with this individual. You walk into a bar, you order a drink, rather than saying nothing, say, oh yeah, how have you been? How are you? You know, and that sparks the conversation. Not all the time, but some people you find are quite talkative, and that leads to a conversation. So it's always interacting with different strangers. Just throw yourself out there, put yourself out there. And I know it's quite daunting in the beginning, but it's the only way through this process. So you can sit there and read as many books as you want, but you do the things that I've just given you, the things that I've just listed to you, I promise you within 6 months, you will be completely unrecognizable, and your speaking skills, your communication skills, it will smash through the roof. Absolutely go through the roof. And a lot of people saying, how are your speaking skills so good and how have you evolved into that level? And that's the reason. It's by taking consistent action. So hopefully you guys have gained value from that video. If you have, consider subscribing, hit the bell notification, smash the like button, leave me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and I'll see all of you guys for my next video. Peace.